here we are picking up with Game 3 of the set. Unfortunately had to be unexpectedly delayed due to... I'm not entirely clear, but, you know, unexpected delay. Those who are watching the stream caught it. Bana had to step away abruptly, so that set was dropped. They have decided they are going to just restart the game. So, we are picking up with Chun-Li versus Bang Shishigami, or Bang Shishigami versus Chun-Li, depending on your perspective. Ragna and Treasure Knight already eliminated from the set because they were both successful, because they retire in glory. Entering Game 3, and Bana going first. Mulling looks like 3. Apologies if I make any careless mistakes here. I have not been awake for very long, but I think we're going to be okay. Pardon me. Alright, Chun-Li mulling. Chun-Li looking for those early game options, probably to help her get to exceed ASAP. We got to see a very thrilling first few turns the last time they played this game, even though it was only just a few turns long. So let's hope that we get to see some pretty exciting action here as well. Alright, Chun-Li mulling 1. Let me keep that. Bang preps, and back to Chun-Li. Bang is a ninja, a kind of character subtype, not really a full archetype, that is based on being versatile, having answers to many situations. Typically means you can afford to play them aggressively or defensively, depending on your preferred playstyle. Alright, Chun-Li initiating and baiting out that shuriken. Very strong defensive tool, the block getting her free gauge, and probably just wasting... that was technically out of order, but it's not a big deal. He should have paid the force cost and then performed his before effect. Anyway, Bang taking the quote-unquote free gauge. This makes sense. So Larger Than Life only gives +1 power. It is a canonical combo with Shuriken, in that it is a very, very stable opener. However, against Chun-Li, it actually doesn't beat 2 of her 3 main openers. So, wanting to get that value in right now, instead of trying to do something else with it later, is still worthwhile for Bang. That said, both players are probably fine with this. He runs to range 1, she preps, he preps. Back to Chun-Li. Well, at range 1, she's pretty much playing the normals game. Her specials are not amazing at range 1, but that probably suits her, because Chun-Li's goal is typically to exceed as soon as possible. Normals are a pretty reliable way to do that. You already saw that she played 1 block. She could play a grasp, a cross, a sweep, focus the other block. A lot of things. Cross is actually not great in this position. This is one of the worst positions to play a cross in, honestly. When you're in the 3 edge spaces, cross does not have room to retreat all 3. So especially if your opponent's at range 1, you risk getting caught by something like a sweep or even a spike. Alright, we have light and then retreat. That retreat is from her character ability. After she resolves a boost, that means when a boost enters play, by the way. Resolve is often misread because 6C doesn't define it in very many places. That means when a boost enters play after an immediate effects. So she played the light and then she chose to retreat 1. Bang, for his part, teched it. That is his second copy of Dive already down. So she is now free to boost whatever she pleases without worrying about getting teched. Of course, knocking out a light with it is probably the highest value that you're going to get, considering that Chun-Li's highest value non-normal boosts have now strike on them. And there's the second light, backing up to range 3. She is now threatening her own dive, her own spike. Spike is on curve, dive is above curve. This is a good range to have speed at. And of course, if she thinks that there's a shuriken incoming, she can always play the above curve assault. 2 points above curve here. If you're just picking this up and you're not particularly versed in Exceed, you might not know what I mean by on curve or above curve. Without providing a extremely detailed explanation, the speed curve kind of defines what you can expect from attacks. So an attack that is closer needs to be higher speed to be faster. Bang goes to set nail before he may advance retreat 2. This gives him effective range, right? So he may advance 2 as a before effect, so his grasp could hit this range, for example. So grasp would normally be above curve at range 3, but irrelevant because it doesn't hit. In this case, he can actually hit with grasp. Alright, she's going to tech that. She did have the dive. But yeah, getting rid of set nail makes a lot of sense. That is an extremely threatening boost. Gives Bang a lot of positioning control, because even if he plays something that's not going to hit, as long as he doesn't get stunned out, he gets to move where he pleases. Letting Bang control the board state is seriously dangerous, especially because Chun-Li has already put her back to the wall. Yeah, Bang holding down the center of the arena. Okay, matching her lights with his. So they both have +2 speed, so effectively their speeds are even. Which is to say even with each other, not even numbers. Played to Machara Kune. Anyway. But yeah, so the speed curve basically means that if you are closer to your opponents, then slower attacks are riskier. Right, if you play a speed 4 at range 1, then you're likelier to get stunned out than if you play a speed 7. Speed 7, you're probably as fast as anything at range 1. Not so when you're up against Bang, but that is very much a character-specific consideration. Knowing what your opponent has that breaks curve is, well, it's why we have references, right? You can look at the reference and be like, alright, do I have to worry about anything? Oh, yes, I do. Oh, she was holding the EX dive. There's that tech for that second light. Well, first light on his side, actually. So third light. So 3 sweeps down total. Both techs on both sides. No more boosts. No more techs in this boost war. Bang has dropped 1 set nail. Both players going fairly high stakes, but this is not uncommon for an early game Chun-Li. She really wants to guarantee that gauge so she can exceed. Exceed cost of 3. Alright, beat a nail with your hammer. Now advance 2 and strike. He's going to range 1, where he is not at risk of getting hit by spike. And he's with +1 speed is going to come in. So he's at net -1 speed, basically. And since he's initiating, that actually gives him a very slight edge over what it could be. So he's in a reasonable position here. Probably the greatest threat to him is something like an EX head stomp, which would come in very, very fast on defense and jump past and do a good chunk of damage. Let's see if we've got a head stomp over here. Yeah, so an EX critical head stomp would be effectively speed 7, right? Because it would be 8, but he's at +1. So, yeah, this is how you simplify speed math, right? Like, he's at +1, she's at +2. So really, he's at printed, she's at +1. So EX head stomp would be speed 7, and then if you crit it, it's power 7, which is pretty nonsense. Not unbeatable by any means, right? You lose to grasp, you lose to a focus. Wait, hold on. Advance. How many does that advance? 3, excuse me. You don't lose to focus. You lose to the other copy of Infinite Cast Fist of the Void. Other than that, pretty chunky. Though critting it to beat sweep would be costly. In particular because, you know, this is Chun-Li. You don't want to spin gauge early unless you have to. Could always also be the mix-up threat of something like something like Void Tempest Kick. A relatively unsafe, unstoppable palm thrust. It has 4 guard on it, so and printed speed of 5. So like since he's at a speed disadvantage, that attacks like head stomp. I think just head stomp. Oh, I guess flipping axe kick. Yeah, crit axe kick and head stomp are both threats that would turn off the unstoppable palm thrust. She does have an EX. Is this gonna crit? No crit. Oh, well that does not work out well for her. She does get her gauge. He played a slow attack, and notably she played a pretty fast one. So she's going to have 4 power. He'll take 3 after armor. And then he will advance 3 and hit for 4 after armor. And then he gets his after effects to position as he sees fits. If you're hit, move up to 2. Alright, now Bang did initiate, so it's Chun-Li's turn. She controls what happens next, and he is down a good number of resources. On the other hand, Bang has the center of the board and is still at range 1. He's not letting Chun-Li get out of his sight. Also, probably more concerningly for Chun-Li, she's 2/3 of the way toward her exceed, he's 3/4 of the way toward his, and each of these is a differently named special. If you're wondering why that matters, well, let's take a quick look at Hyperstatus of Strike. If he manages to exceed by spending exactly 4 differently named specials, then he can immediately play Hyperstatus of Strike, which is typically unbeatable. It is a very, very good attack. To do that, however, he will need to get the 4th special into his gauge, that is Unstoppable Palm Thrust, and that is a pretty avoidable attack if you're hanging on to your crosses. And grasps. There's the Unstoppable Palm Thrust. Whoops. Yeah, for guard, it means it's not entirely stoppable, but it is often avoidable. Alright, now Chun-Li's turn. She might be able to make a decent tempo play here. She is up 2 cards on him, because he did commit a lot of resources. This was a 4 special. So even though she played an EX, she still has a card advantage. Alright, she preps, goes to 7, he preps, goes to 5. Yeah, the way this plays with probability dynamics of what you're going to have in hand is kind of interesting, because it means her chances of having an EX are better than his. But like, her chances of having a better hand are better. His chances of not having a bad hand are better than her chances of not having a bad hand, because she probably already didn't have a bad hand. I guess I'm fairly certain that's how it works out. Like I said, I haven't been awake for very long, so I might be doing the math wrong there. Someone can correct me if they want. Alright, we have Guard Crush. That's Ignore Guard, now Strike. She needs to pay Force Cost there. Discarding, ooh, Hozenka, alright. Deciding that is the lowest value option in her hands, and striking. So the Telegraph here is a Cross or a Lightning Legs, an on-curve card, because that would be the greatest threat to this Ignore Guard attack. It is in fact Lightning Legs. Going to deal 1 damage and stun. Always disappointing to see Focus drop without arguments. Now that hit effect on that boost does add it to her gauge. Technically speaking, this card is misprinted. It should say, now strike, hit, Ignore Guard, add this to your gauge, because the Ignore Guard has to be, you know, has to stick around when the boost leaves play, and at least later in the hit timing. But yeah, that is a unilateral errata across all of Exceed. Alright, defends. Yep. Alright, range 2 defends. Somewhat interesting. Bang does not have a really obvious threat here. This kind of suggests that he wants to play Set Nail next turn to be able to kind of do whatever he wants on offense. Chun-Li exceeding ASAP, not too surprising. She has the same as her frontside ability, but also, for each continuous boost you have in play, your attacks have +0 to 1 range. So, each continuous boost gives her +1 maximum range. Alright. Bang, using his character ability, is going to look at the top 2 cards of his deck, draw 1, discard the other, letting him somewhat aggressively look for answers. He discarded a block. Decided that was not what he needed right now. Chun-Li checking those discard piles. This is pretty, this is typical of this player, as we've seen throughout this tournament, the Chun-Li player Chykka, to keep a very close eye on discards. Chun-Li making sure she knows what threats are live, what isn't, and what reading targets are viable. Reading is a normal boost that lets you force the opponent to play a particular card, if they have it in hand. It can only target normals. It is, on this reference here at the top, block focus, and then if you read across, focus's boost is reading. Alright, looks like she is paying the force cost on Ultra Parry. Speaking of normals, so she discarded an Ultra to pay the cost, and then it says the opponent must discard 3 normals or reveal their hand and discard all normals. So, looks like Bang is going to tip hands. How many normals does he have? Only 1. No, that's 2. That's, excuse me, focus and assault. I didn't see the focus. Alright, she does see that he has both copies of Hyperstatus of Strike, which is concerning, to say the least. A Polarizing Blast Jitsu, an Unstoppable Palm Thrust, and a Bang-style Shuriken. So she's now deciding, does she want to retreat? Because because her character ability allows her to retreat after she plays a boost, whether it's continuous or not. So now that she has seen his hand, does she retreat? Probably. Yeah, she does. Makes sense. I mean, at range 3, she's out of the way of that unstoppable pawn thrust that he could otherwise play immediately. Excuse me, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, typically this is considered ideal. Ultra Parry is a pretty expensive card to play, and the fact that it takes a turn also doesn't help matters, and it costs you Hozenka, which is non-trivial. It's a really good Ultra. So you often want to get both hand information and as many discards as possible. So it feels pretty good to get 2 normals and a hand reveal. Alright, looks like Bang is going to double jump into the corner. And then out of the corner. Makes sense. Yep, advance 3 if you move past the opponent, advance retreat 1, then draw 1. So he advanced into the corner, jumped back over her, drew a card, drew for turn. Yep. In essence, he took the corner in a particularly card-efficient manner. Well, not the corner, sorry, he cornered her. He didn't take the corner. This again makes that unstoppable palm thrust pretty scary. Still loses to grasp, and I think she does have at least 1 grasp left, maybe 2. I'm not entirely sure. As I always exclaim, I am here to stream, try roughly to keep track of game state, make sure no obvious rules errors occur, and you know, record for posterity. I'm not competing, so I don't need to pay close attention to discards. I invite the viewer to do so on their own, though. Please. Counting cards is a good habit. It's also something I find intrinsically enjoyable, but I understand that not everyone does. Well, Chun-Li now cornered. She will probably want to get out of the corner, just because, as a rule, you want to get out of the corner. With few exceptions, most characters find that the corner will hamper their movement options. The most obvious example being the cross that I mentioned earlier. Cross is speed 6 normal. Very good at evading slower options. However, if your back is to the wall, it is nothing. It's terrible. Cross evades because it has after retreat 3. Second from the bottom here on this normals reference. It's 1 2 3 6, so that's range 1 2, power 3, speed 6, with after retreat 3 spaces. So if you can't retreat all 3 spaces, then it's just not going to get out of the way very much. Like, if she was on the other side, then her cross would actually outspeed and evade an unstoppable palm thrust, but on this side it doesn't. On the other hand, the dilemma is, if you have a cross, and you want to make your cross really good, then you have to boost 1 cross to get out of the corner, and now you can play cross. Wait a minute. Right, like, the easiest way to get out of the corner is to boost with cross. The card that is most valuable when you're out of the corner is cross. This is a common paradigm in Exceed, where you want to use the card both ways at in the same time. Alright, she's paying 2 force to advance. She does get out of the corner. That is her second copy of Kikosho, meaning all 4 of her ultras are down for this shuffle. Alright, Bang boosting light. Well, he is extremely telegraphing that he wants to unstoppable palm thrust right into an unbeatable hyper shadow step strike. So she needs to get out of dodge. She's probably going to use backstep if she has it. Otherwise, she will just need to take the retreat action in all likelihood. Because if she stands within range 1 or 2, while he has +2 speed on her, even if she can trade up against his unstoppable palm thrust, the fact that he gains advantage, and she probably won't be able to gain it back, means he can immediately follow up by exceeding and playing Hyper Shadow Step Strike. So the threat here is face up on the table, so to speak. Right? She knows that he has all of those things in hand. She knows that he has at least 1 palm thrust and both Hyper Shadow Step Strikes. She's preparing. All right. Probably means that she has the block, the second copy of block rather, to play on the Shadow Step Strike turn. She might also have an EX Grasp, depending. I don't think that would help, though. Unless she gets stunned and he decides to advance, Hyper Shadow Step is going to be played from longer range. So the question, I guess, now is, does Bang follow through on that plan, or does he have something else in mind? Because there is still an intrinsic mix-up here, right? He could choose to play his second copy of Void Tempest Kick here. And if she assumes that he's playing the palm thrust, then she'll try to trade with it, with a sweep or a focus or something. However, Void Tempest Kick crushes slower attacks with this ignore guard. Looks like Bang is coming in with an EX. Yes, he is. Alright, well, it's not that, so this is 99% the palm thrust, and she's going to play a sweep or a crit, excuse me? Oh, Kikoken. No, that makes sense, actually. Yeah, so she will trade, and she will have some positioning control. Not much, though. Yeah, so she has 4 armor, she takes 1, and then... Did she take the right number? I thought she hit the thing twice. Well, I'm not sure. Either way, it's going to be rough for her in a minute here. Very, very rough. Yep. Yeah, so she crit to get that +4 armor. So she took minimal damage from this. She did get to hit back for 2 because she had 4 power and Bang had both the EX armor and the armor from defense. She then needed to move 1. Let's see. But yeah, that was my counts. Yep, now she's performing her after effect, which is lose all armor and move 1. Yeah. Yeah, she was at 26 beforehand. She had 4 armor, he had 5 power. Alright. So, she's deciding her positioning here. Yeah, backing up Salma's certainly correct, because she knows he's going to play a Shadow Swift Strike at the earliest convenience, essentially. When he does that, it will take him into the corner, because it has close 8 and advance 1. So he closes until he's in your face, and then he walks. He takes 1 step behind you, right? So it's a always end up right behind you. Now he did gain advantage, so it's his turn next. Does he go for the payout here, or does he wait? He's gonna prepare. All right. There's not much Chun-Li can do to stop him from pulling off this succeed. She just has to be ready to try to take the game back from him afterwards. Bang has gone through his deck a lot more aggressively than she has. However, his Exceed allows him to recur cards in a way that you'll probably see shortly from his discard pile, so he's not actually likely to run low. Boosting Defend, that makes sense. That actually means she can probably trade with Hyper Shadow Swift Strike. She already drew for turn. She should not retreat, but if her opponent permits her, then that is his prerogative, I suppose. In theory, it should be Bang's turn. Right, she drew for end of turn. She also has an order of that hand, so I guess if she asks, we could just shuffle back the card she drew, choose to retreat. Then draw. Alright, what do we got? Returning Ninpo to hands. That makes sense. Now he draws a card, takes another action, and this will be the Exceed. Yep. Knock out that defends, so that she can no longer trade with the EX Hyper Shadow Step Strike, which is undoubtedly coming in. Turn music down in case they hit the button. Yep, she's not wasting cards on this. Oh man, she could have crit if she had known that was coming, but obviously she didn't. That's 10 power. Alright, she will drop to 15. Well, she knew that was coming, but the next turns are going to be where it gets really hard. However, she actually has an opportunity to respond to things. So, one of each special being in his overdrive. Let's take a look at the Succeed mode. The reason that was 10 power is because his ability is that your EX attacks have +1 power. His overdrive effects, which this occurs when he discards a card from overdrive. So, return all copies of that discarded card from his discard pile to his hands. So he basically, at the start of his turn, will drop one of these into discard and then pick up the EX. So he can EX attack for a few consecutive turns if he is inclined. That's why it's actually not a bad thing for him to be this far into his deck, because he's going to have copies of those cards in his discard pile. So Chun-Li needing to figure out how she's going to weather the storm. She still has that defend in hands. Alright, boosting Swift attack, +1 speed, hit gain advantage at disengage, and because she's in Exceed mode, now retreat up to 1 and +0 to 1 range. So that is, 5 distinct effects on one boost? Yeah, that's Exceed mode Chun-Li. It's +1 speed, hits, gain advantage, hits at disengage, now retreat up to 1, and +0 to 1 range. What a silly character. Alright. Well, it is now Bing's turn. So notably, if she still has any grasps left, she is threatening a range 1 to 2, speed 8 grasp, which is pretty annoying. So we might see him instant Ninpo again, which is the boost in Shuriken. We might not. We're not sure what else is in that hand. I think he played everything we saw except for a Void Tempest Kick, so I think there's just 2 unknown cards in that hand. If he happens to have an Infinite Cast Fist of the Void, he might jump into her face, play something cheeky. Who knows? 4 cards left in his deck. Chun-Li checking her own discard pile now. Being deciding which card to discard from overdrive, which means, which card he will then be returning to his hand as an EX. If he's not careful, he could still lose that life edge he just gains by trading down over the next few turns. If she's been saving defensive options, I think she might have one sweep left. And I believe she has both focuses. He is down at least 1 focus. I think both, but I'm not sure. Pretty confident that he has... No, I'm certain that he has both Shurikens in his discard. And both Polarizing Blast Jutsus in his discard. Good old PB&J. Alright, yep, picking up Shuriken. So that's going to give him both copies of Shuriken in hands. Probably going to play instant Ninpo, but don't know for sure. Might have something else in mind. The issue, as it were, with instant Ninpo is it returns the boost to the opponent's hands. So it's not actually getting rid of the threat in the long term. It just lets you make an immediate play in some way that you need. Yep, there's Ninpo. Alright, he gets to take another action. And striking. Yep. Mix-up is live here. Shuriken is on curve, and he could probably play larger than life off of it, because I'm pretty sure he still has that in hands, so you get advantage. Or he could play Void Tempest Kick, which is speed 4, so under curve, but it has Ignore Guard on it, which just destroys everything. Probably has some other tools left, I'm not sure what all is left. I think there is a Fatal Eruption, which is his one of his 1-gauge ultras, because his ultras are dirt cheap. Well, okay, to be clear, Infinite Caspis costs 2-gauge. So you have to have 2-gauge. It just refunds one of them. Anyway, Fatal Eruption is 1-2-5-5 with 4 guard. A little like Unstoppable Palm Thrust, but it pushes a lot farther. Push 8, close 4, draw 1. Big ol' corner carry. That is a reasonable threat, although it's still under curve at range 2. So loses to cross. Matter of fact, I believe everything he has loses to cross, except for Shuriken. But of course we know he has Shuriken, so hence the mix-up. Chun-Li here has to decide what is her worst case, what is the thing that she does not want to lose to, or at least does not want to lose particularly badly to. And then either play against that, or, you know, just ignore it, and and hope that it's not happening. What do we got? The cross, the cross. Oh, did not expect him to play cross, so he's retaining that Shuriken threat, and going to hit for 3, winning the speed tie. Yeah, successfully played the on-curve threat, but not the one that we knew he had. So he still has a Shuriken available in that hands. Backing up to range 3 puts him out of range of her grasp if she chooses to boost again. Which is pretty interesting because, like, in theory, right, she boosts, she has range and speed superiority. But Shuriken is so far above the speed curve that that might actually not be the case. I think if she boosts for speed here and doesn't move, then she can threaten an above curve lightning legs or the other cross. She chose to move. Interesting. What does that mean? I think Shuriken beats everything now. She might have an EX Assault, which would be speed 7. I think that's the only thing that actually outspeeds and stuns Shuriken here. Of course, Bang will control the mix-up again, because he can return Pulverizing Blast. Yeah, there it is. Pulverizing Blast Jutsu to his hands. And if he strikes with a single card, it could be the extremely fast Shuriken, which is 2 points above curve, which coincidentally is the same amount of above curve that Chun-Li can be by default. Here. Wait, hold on. Range 4. Speed 5 is 1. Speed 6. Yeah, speed 6 assault is 2 points above curve. Yep, did the math right. Or you can play Pulverizing Blast Jutsu, which loses to Spike, notably, but pretty good against everything else. I think she still has a Spinning Bird Kick left. That's very, very reliable play. Arguably her highest value special. I certainly think highly of it, especially in Exceed mode. With 1 boost in play, this stat line tends to be ridiculous. Range 1 to 3 with before Advance 3 is going to hit almost the entire arena in almost every configuration. And with 4 guard, it probably doesn't get stunned by anything either. So this is, like, almost always her safest possible attack. Alright, he's initiated with 1 card. Here's the mix-up. What will she call? And will she call it right? Yeah, just because he controls the mix-up doesn't mean he can't lose it. He is not bolstering his attacks with his powerful Ultra Boosts, which means it's a lot harder to make guarantees here. On the other hand, he got to get 10 damage all in one swoop with Hyper Shadow Strike, so, you know, wouldn't say it was a waste to not hang on to For Love and Justice. Alright, it is a Spinning Bird Kick. Okay, it's the Shuriken. Yep. So, he can't do much here. Can't gonna poke her, basically. She's gonna gain advantage with her hit effect, so even if he plays larger than life, he's not gonna be able to actually get much value off it. It would just be an extra gauge. Okay, yeah, so he gets 2 damage in, and then she'll hit him for 5 and steal advantage. So she goes to 10, he goes to 19. She advances to range 1, which is actually good for Bang. However, it is her turn next. There's a decent chance Bang didn't realize that. Like, he may not have noticed the gain advantage on that boost. We'll see if that proves to be a fatal error. Chun looking at what is accessible to him in the following turn. Again, trying to make sure that... so this is a... We're probably seeing Chun-Li shift into a defensive set play kind of loop, where she is going to try to play a boost such that on Bang's turn, Chun-Li has an advantage. And it makes it so that when Bang strikes, she fares well in that strike. And then, if Bang doesn't gain advantage, turn comes back to Chun-Li, and she can boost again and repeat the process. This is essentially the defensive set play loop. It is, I want to always have an advantage on my, or always have an edge, you know, not literally advantage, always have an edge on my opponent's turn. So on my turn, I'm not initiating strikes, I'm just setting up boosts, changing positioning, etc. Because then with my opponent strikes to prevent me from having an overwhelming advantage. Ooh, speak of the devil. There's backstep. She's going to do the, what I like to call the Chun-Li special, which is retreat an extra space after resolving a boost that gives her movement. So she retreats 4, and then she retreats 1. Alright, he is going to pull back Unstoppable Palm Thrust. Makes sense. Void Tempest Kick is not worth much here. And actually, he would only get 1 copy of it, because the other one's engaged. We're probably going to see move action to get that into discard pile. Oh, actually, he's going to boost Set Now, before you may advance or retreat to. Okay. That's reasonable. I believe he still has both copies of Polarizing Blast Jutsu available. So he can hit from here if he advances 2 and then advances 3 with Polarizing Blast Jutsu, which is a little silly, but there you go. Like I said, Ultra Boosts, they're good. Would still lose to Cross, though. Alright, it is Chun-Li's turn. Needs to figure out once again how to defuse Bang's advantage. Looking like she might take the reshuffle action to try to refresh her tools. She does have decent stuff engaged. These are all good cards. But she has all 4 ultras down. Hozenka is an amazing game closer, especially if you can play Faultless Focus on top of it. Faultless Focus being the boost on Kikosha. Extend immunity, now strike, hit at this gauge, also granting you plus 0 to 1 range on an attack that has 9 or 11 power. Is unbelievably good. Very, very expensive, but very, very good. Of course, you have to initiate. You have to play the boost so that you can initiate. You can't just hold that for defense. Chun-Li now checking Bang's discard pile. I don't think we've seen any readings come out, which is a little bit surprising. I mean, we know that Bang Wild Swing of Focus, but I don't remember any other focuses dropping. Maybe I just don't remember, but pretty unusual for that to be the case at this point in the game. Alright, Chun-Li prepares. Bang's turn. Alright, so he's going to pick up Void Tempest and Void Tempest, giving him 8 cards in hand, but that's not an issue. If you're familiar with Exceed, the hand size is 7, but it is only checked at the end of your draw step. So if you draw more than 7 cards at any other point in time, except at the very end of your turn, you're fine. No, you don't have to discard. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. And notably, that only applies if you actually perform your draw step. So if you strike, you still don't have to worry about discarding. Hence the Big Hand Guile line of play. Oh, speak of the devil, there's Guile's theme. Alright, it is Bang's turn. Chun-Li evaluating threats. Bang could just strike here, however, Polarizing Blast Jutsu would be pretty face up. I don't think there's anything else he's threatening right now, because both dives are down, and both shurikens are down. So she could easily play a sweep or a focus if she has one and just trade with it. He is up on life, but trading with Chun-Li when she might be getting her ultras back online in the near future is pretty risky, because she can get a lot of damage out in no time at all. If she gets that 4th gauge and then, you know, changes cards that entire hand, dig for ultras, something like that. Typically, if you're up 9 life, right, you're okay trading down a little bit. Actually, Pulverizing Blast doesn't even trade down against most things. What is that? 5 power, 1 armor. Yeah, so it trades even with sweep, except he loses a card. Even with focus, except she draws a card. And that's fine. More annoying would be her playing across to back out of range, which would not be unlikely either, but like that would at least give him much better position. Well, usually better position, actually. The fact that he would then be giving the turn to her so she could play a boost makes that less good. Alright, almost certainly the EX Pulverizing Blast Jitsu, so since it's EX, she'll probably just want to cross. If she has it, I've not been tracking. It's block, okay, that also works. Yeah, so he will advance 3, then advance 2, or advance 2, then advance 3, doesn't matter. And then hits, and he has 6 power. So she's probably going to pay all 2 force to gain +4 armor for a total of 6, dropping her to no damage taken. She's confirming what she wants to spend, but I'll be very surprised if she doesn't pay both. At this life delta, at this stage in the game, she is unlikely to take damage. If she does take damage, it means that hand is exceptionally precious. Which, hey, maybe she has 2 readings and is ready to use them. Although given what Bang has been doing, we don't have much reason to believe that he has many normals in hands. Right, like he has both Void Tempest kicks. I think he has 1 or both palm thrusts. Trying to remember what else we've seen. I think that's all we know for sure, and I think there's 2 cards that are still unaccounted for. Could be wrong. Not 100% sure. Yeah, because one of the unaccounted for cards from earlier was Cross, which he played, but then he drew a card after Set Nail, so I think there's still 2 unknown cards. I think the other 4 are what I just described. Looking like she's considering spinning Gauge, mostly just to get those back in her discard pile for the reshuffle, I think, because normally she would not want to lose Gauge at this point. Yeah, gonna get an overhead back in discard, that's the boost, referring to the boost in Kikoken. And then does she want Swift Attack or does she want Guard Crush? She probably wants Guard Crush and or Spinning Bird Kick, just because Spinning Bird Kick is such a reliable attack. Excuse me. Alright, so she pays 2 Gauge. I was not expecting her to pay 2 Gauge. I was expecting up to 1 Gauge, and then 1 or 2 cards from hands. Depending. Well, it is Bang's turn. Sorry, it was Bang's turn. It's now Chun-Li's turn. Said the opposite of what I meant. She's checking discards. This strongly suggests that a reading may be upcoming. Although, as we've seen a number of times actually from this player, even if this is not about reading, this is about figuring out what exactly his 8 remaining cards are, and then seeing if she can play something that will cover every situation possible. That kind of play has really driven Chykka to heights of Treasure Knight mastery. Character often underrated because of the difficulty in playing him, but executed to great effects during this tournament. I believe Treasure Knight has yet to drop a game. Treasure Knight, Iaquis, and Chun-Li. A set of characters who all can benefit more than average from keeping a very close eye on your opponent's threats. Notably, every character in Exceed benefits from this, right? You know, you want to know what your opponent is threatening. You want to have an eye out for their biggest, dumbest options. You want to be counting what cards have dropped and what hasn't. Keep an eye on their gauge. All useful considerations. But Iaquis, if he can keep an eye on things effectively, gets disproportionate reward. And then Chun-Li, if she can cover everything, like, if she can determine what's left, is likeliest to have a tool that just covers everything. Treasure Knight, I don't fully understand myself, so I'm not going to make a claim as to why Treasure Knight fits this mold. I've just seen it happen. Right? I've just seen Treasure Knight win game after game. So, clearly he does something right. And I'm guessing it also has to do with this pattern of keep my eye on the opponent's discards, inspect them thoroughly, make sure I miss nothing, track everything. Makes me wonder how this player type would fare against... Alright, that's a defend and choosing to retreat. How this player type would fare against Arakune, who is designed to obscure information. Alright, Bang, looking like he's going to change cards. Yep, getting rid of those remaining normals. Change cards 4, which will go through the reshuffle. So he will draw 2 from deck, and then he needs to draw a total of 3 more. Ah, makes sense. That'll put him over hand size, and then he'll be discarding his remaining normal and something else. Yep, nine total cards in hand now. Chykka taking a moment, Chun-Li taking a moment to make note of what is known to be in Bang's hand. For those wondering why Bang just, stuck his hand on the table like that, this is a fairly common convention, both in casual play and actually even in competitive play. A lot of players do this, which is if there's no hidden information left, right, like your deck is empty, your discard pile is full, right, you've got gauge, you don't have any other face down areas, then your opponent could, if they wanted to, just count your discard pile and figure out what's in your hands. So to save everyone time, it is very, very common to just go, oh, here's my hands. Tip the hand, save the trouble of counting cards. Bang is at 8 cards, still needs to discard 1. Getting rid of the no normal was a no-brainer. That's a basic survival skill. If your opponent knows you have normals, ditch them ASAP. Unless they're out of focuses. But, Alright, discarding dive, another normal. Chun-Li's turn. Bang has drawn now 2 cards deep into a fresh deck because the 3rd card was dive. Like, we know he didn't have that before. But had a pretty good set of cards left to work with that were specials and ultras. So, Chun-Li is still in a somewhat tight spot. Notably, I believe he had an Infinite Cast Fist of the Void outstanding, meaning he can boost Beat a Nail with your hammer. This boost. Need to stop doing that. Alright, Chun-Li checking her own discard pile, probably deciding if it's worth it to change cards or reshuffle. Or if she can keep playing through this shuffle with only 3 cards left in deck. Probably actually just trying to figure out what those 3 cards are. Well, as noted, I haven't been keeping very careful track, but she's dropped both Kyokens. I think she's dropped both Spinning Bird kicks. At least 1 head stomp, both axe kicks. I think there's a head stomp, a lightning legs, 2 focuses, and then 4 other cards, which are normals. Probably a grasp, a cross, an assault. Yeah, if I'm counting right, there's a lot of normals left. Alright, she's taking the reshuffle action. Draws for end of turn. Both players have now consumed their reshuffle. If either of them runs out of cards a second time, they will die. But, I wouldn't worry. It may look like Chun-Li is not in a good position because she spent her entire first shuffle to deal 11 damage. However, she's in Exceed mode, and that makes things radically different. Alright, Bang boosting, +1 speed now, advance 2 and strike. That's Beat a Nail with your hammer. A lot of viable threats here. Palm Thrust beats... is that true? Actually, hold on. It's a little hard to stun things. Depending on what he drew, because we have no idea, right? There's a lot of possible tools. One of the funniest would be Fatal Eruption, right? Speed 6, Power 5, hit push 8, close 4, and draw 1. Which would send them flying from one side of the map to the other. Excuse me. She'll probably play a Focus if she has it. That only loses to Void Tempest Kick, and only by 1 damage, although she would get stunned, which would be extremely sad. She might try to call this out with the cross if she is feeling confident. An EX attack would also be pretty solid if she's got one. Notably, with Defend in play, EXs hit 2 armor and 4 guard, regardless of their printed stats, and that is phenomenal. 6 defense is a magic number. It's extremely hard to break 6 defense unless your opponent has something really outstanding, or stat bonuses of their own. And that's true at any speed. You know, you can have a speed 0 attack. If it has 6 defense, it's probably safe. I'm using defense to refer to the combined stats of armor and guard. Chun-Li playing very carefully here. It's common throughout any game to wild swing on defense when you're not entirely confident you can handle what your opponent's throwing. However, at this point in the game, with life totals this low, losing a strike cleanly could be devastating. Like if she were to wild swing something like, oh I don't know, a dive, right, and get stunned by an assault or an unstoppable palm thrust or whatever. Wait, that doesn't get stunned. Let me try that again. I had to think through. It is the Focus. It is the unstoppable palm thrust. Alright. So they'll trade. She'll take 1, he'll take 4. That is the kind of trading that can bring this life lead back within manageable levels. They're only 6 apart now, so she is crawling her way back up. Now Bang does gain advantage off of that unstoppable palm thrust. She probably does have another Focus. That is if I've been counting correctly. Even if she didn't have it before, she could have it now, right? She's drawn 2 cards off that deck. Alright. Bang's turn. 3 specials engage again. What the... Oh, okay. Character building. I thought he was wide swinging for a second there. That was crazy. Yep. Going to start burning through that deck, looking for the tools he needs to close this game. 4 specials engage is pretty exciting, actually. Sorry, 3 specials. I mean, getting 4 engage is exciting, because, like, you could play a second Hyperstratus of Strike in the same game, which would be extremely uncommon and very exciting. That said, I think she is still holding a grasp on some level, and if not, she could certainly draw one, meaning she will probably be trying to back up and play. There you go, yep. So boost and defend, backing up. Yeah, 2 defend boosts in a row. Looking a little like a Treasure Knight player, right? Armor up, guard up, just try to make sure you can out-trade so that you don't get too far behind. And then personally, I usually see Chun-Li games end with a pretty big, splashy, decisive play, but Bang has to be at 11 life or less for that to come out. And she needs a little more gauge. Like, unbeatable Hosenkas are very good at closing games. But she is not there yet. Instead, she is playing pretty safely, pretty defensively, which is not uncommon. Chun-Li is typically considered a defensive set-play zoner kind of character. Depending on who you ask, right? Like, the thing about archetypes is that there aren't hard rules about what comprises them, so people have their own definitions. Nobody has to agree on things. Right, I have my own classification scheme. Others have theirs. The official level 99 classification scheme is that everyone is a brawler. Actually, I think in Exceed it might be that everyone's a zoner. I forget. Could be both. I don't know. The official BattleCon archetype list is everyone's a brawler. Alright, Bang closing 1. Not an especially good play, but might be what he needs. The thing about this is that, you know, Chun-Li gets to play a boost and retreat. He has to pay a force to advance, doesn't get a boost in play. So, if it keeps up for very long, she will accrue an advantage. But maybe it's the play that he needs. At the very least, this means that her grasp is less threatening. If she gives up on the grasp threat, we might see her drop a fierce, because she has defend in play. Defend on top of fierce when the opponent has no boost in play is pretty good, especially if you're looking to trade close to the end of the game. Like, neither player is within range of taking lethal from a single hit yet. They're very close, though. They're very close. And one reading on either side could change everything. Chun-Li taking her time, counting cards, making sure she knows every remaining threat. Yep, that's the way of it. Well, we've been streaming for about an hour, so if you've been keeping up, or even if you haven't, please take a moment to grab some water. Stay hydrated. It's good for you. It is bloody hot out where I am right now, so particularly important. Parry? What's the call? Parrying focus. Probably worried about a reading threat. Unsuccessful. I think we saw 2 normals in that hand. One of them was blocked, so probably going to parry the focus on his following turn. Yeah, so she's going to see the hand since it didn't have a focus in it, and then she may retreat per her character ability. Well, exceed ability, technically speaking. What do we got? Block assaults, grasp, void tempest kick, unstoppable palm thrust, fatal eruption. Alright, yeah, this is the parry for the focus. Ooh. Unsuccessful. Alright, she is holding an EX grasp, EX Hozenka. Yeah, she wants that lethal threat, but she needs 1 more gauge. Lightning legs. So yeah, assault, grasp, lightning legs, Kikosho, EX Hozenka. It's a very strong hand. Weaker now that she knows it. Or now that he knows it, excuse me. Hopefully she already knew it was in her hand. Well, back to her. Looks like we have a faultless focus. Huh. Well, I guess grasp is unbeatable. It's not very exciting, though. She dropped the assault for it. Okay, yeah, this is the EX grasp. I mean, that's fair. It does beat everything that Bang had, I believe, and she gets to keep him at long range. Gives her an extra gauge so that she can threaten Hazama next turn. Yeah, okay, this is good. She will not have advantage, but she will, after this hits, which it will, have a 5 gauge. She will not be able to do a stun immune Hazama immediately. But also she might not need to. Bang wild swinging, makes sense. There's the grasp. She'll probably put him at range 4. Hit for 4. Gonna wait and see if they correct that. Yeah, he was at 15 life beforehand. Okay, that makes sense. Set now. Yeah, so his chances of being able to beat that threatens EX critical Zenka are still not high, but they're a lot better now. Because he would just need basically to get a cross off that wild swing. Or maybe the other Shuriken. Shuriken. Not Shoryuken. That is different. Subtly but importantly different. Yeah, it is now all important for Chun-Li to be able to keep that threat high. Because she is threatening an 11 damage ultra right now. 12 damage, excuse me. At speed 5. She might just decide to go for it. Right, like, the chance of him drawing the answer is low enough that it might be worthwhile. And if she is successful in the risk, she wins. If she gets stunned, then she probably loses badly. Because that would be a 5 gauge investment. I think based on how this player has been playing in this tournament, she probably will not take the risk. She'll probably take her time. But we will see. Like this is a Treasure Knight player and a Chun-Li player, so I would not characterize them as high risk. Yeah, the defensive play here is to boost the lightning legs to retreat, so that you have extra range on your Hazama. Makes it a lot harder for Bang to stun that out, but it does give him a turn. Oh? Change cards. Not at all the play I expected. I guess she's looking for her second Kikosho. Alright, Bang initiating with a single card. So this suggests an assault or an unstoppable pawn thrust. Maybe the other fatal eruption. But there is a mix-up, right? He could play slower. He could play something that loses to Hazama, like a spike or a Void Tempest Kick. Alright. There's the cross. Yep, he's going to advance. He could choose not to, but he advances. It might have been better not to advance, honestly. It depends. If she got one of her now strike boosts, then he is in danger of getting hit by the Hazama right now. It would not, however, be lethal. It would hurt, but it wouldn't be lethal. Only 10 damage, right? That's manageable. Chun-Li checking those discards. I think Chun-Li should probably be concerned about what happens if she goes Bang a little more time. Because all he has to do is get a block in hands and block a hit. And then or initiate with block. And then with 4 gauge he can start recurring cards and then get back to having option resource advantage, essentially. Yeah, I think he still does have that assault from earlier. And grasp? Yeah, pretty sure. Because he parried the focus, so he didn't get rid of the other normals right away. Which is pretty dangerous, but, you know, it's the risk you take. It's not dangerous for one turn, right? But keeping them for any longer than one turn is dangerous. EX Zenka is a very, very big threat. So the EX brings it to speed 5. This is important for a lot of reasons. But among them, that a single speed boost, whether it's +1 or +2, hits a lot of breakpoints. Taking it to speed 6 means that you can't cross out of it, and if you initiate, it beats, you know, things like shuriken. Reading. Okay, this should be pretty painful. Yeah, there's the assault. Yep, there's it. Kikosho, okay, getting even more value out of this, actually. So assault comes in, and then Kikosho hits for 7. Makes a lot of sense. However, she does not have the gauge for Hazenka now, and Bang is 2 spaces closer. This might be okay with him. Like, paying 7 life to move 2 spaces is not very efficient, but maybe it's what you need. She's also out both readings, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Alright, now the question is, can she close the game? I believe all 3... No, 2 of those cards are known. 2 of those cards are Hazenka, I don't remember what the other one is, if we know it at all. Yeah, it might be time for a change cards, especially if you're going to give up on the Hazenka. Yep, change card 6. Yep, so you'll draw 6 + 1 for your turn, so that is a total of 7. You will then discard 1 card. Chun-Li cultivating the hand that will bring destruction upon her opponents. Bang is now on a very short timer to win this game or die trying. Hey, the good news is, with those 2 options, you're guaranteed to take one of them. Alright, waiting for the discard. Likely to be a low value normal, probably a normal with a instant boost on it, like dive, maybe block, maybe cross. I know. Depends what she drew, of course. Maybe she didn't draw any of those. Now look at that. Alright, it is now Bang's turn. Alright, time to see. Chun-Li has the edge right now. Bang checking decks. Looks like she is down to 6 cards post-shuffle. Could he be considering the unthinkable? Could he be considering trying to run her out of cards? It's a pretty late point in the game to make that decision, but he might be able to do it. He prepares. Alright, Chun-Li probably going to start boosting. She wants to set up something unbeatable. She might boost a Now Strike and try to deal lethal immediately, but we'll see. Alright, Chun-Li checking discards. This is purely option evaluation. We know that she is out of readings, so there's no question about that now. However, Bang still has a tidy chunk of cards, 15 total cards available to him, so literally half his deck. Alright, here's the overhead. With a single card, and she did not retreat. So the telegraph here... What is the telegraph here? Cross and Lightning Legs do not end the game. Assault is reasonable. She did not crit. Head stomp, maybe? That'll kill. Yeah, ignore armor on that spinning bird kick does the job. Oh yeah, spinning bird kick makes sense. It beats Cross. It beats Cross. He had to have basically an EX to do the job. Whew. Alright. Chun-Li takes it, just barely. What a set. Alright, well, that decides the game, and thereby the set in favor of Chykka. Whew. I will see if the players want to hop into voice chat briefly. Alright, here we are. Good game.
Hello.
Good game. Hey, folks.
Yep.
Yeah, that was intense. I wasn't sure if I was able to come back from that 10 life deficit, but
That was so tense. Those were some good treasure knight instincts. Boost defend, trade. Boost defend, trade. Play focus. Hang back, trade up. Crawl your way back up.
yeah, I just had to get the reads right. But yeah, Banna's an amazing player, and I did not expect to. It was definitely it was a challenge to climb back from that.
It's a heck of a
I thought
set.
it would go the way of all the other games where Banna would just beat me with like 15 life left over again.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
no, you managed to stop me. I was trying to come up with advantage lines, but could not set them up. Kept throwing roadblocks in my way.
I think the ultra parry really gave me let me come back from this game because I got rid of the last focus early on, and so I couldn't get my normal thread for most of the game.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of optimal value, right? Like you want ultra parry is really expensive to play, but if you get 2 normal discards and the hand reveal,
Yeah.
it's probably worth it.
I was thinking maybe that EX Assault was being threatened there, so I was like, well, I'll just play this, and then if you have EX Assault, you don't have EX Assault anymore.
Very solid play, very tight play on both sides. I really enjoyed, especially looking at the life and being like, well, let's see, it's 15 to 9. All right, neither player can quite take lethal, and then it goes to 11 or 9. I'm like, well, now either player could take lethal.
Yeah.
Actually, in just 2 turns, the game could be over. Like,
I was like, oh, if I have one more gauge here, I could actually just play my
Yeah,
Hasenka
like,
and crit.
the crit Hasenka threat on Chun-Li's side, bang with the possibility of a shuriken larger than life hyper shadow set, where it's like, all right, lethal is alive on either side of the field because these characters are so explosive. But really good answer play. I felt the tempo shifting as it was like one player has the edge and is playing more aggressively, the other one's coming with answers, then it shifts subtly in just a couple turns and things are going the other way. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, Bank's not the best answer character, so. When
Yeah,
it shifts,
yeah,
you do.
shuriken.
Depends on what your opponent's threats are.
Yeah,
Shuriken is really good
yeah.
in many matchups. It has a hard time against Succeed Chun-Li because with one boost in play,
Yeah.
spinning bird kick just beats everything. Like,
Yep.
spinning bird kick is a really good card. All right, well, thank you all very much for letting me stream, and yeah, congrats on getting this far. Congrats on your victory, Chykka. Wish you luck with the rest of the tournament.
Thank you. Thanks for the games, Banna. It was just a pleasure playing with you both times.
Yeah, and apologies to everyone for mishaps in the last 2 games. Yeah, delayed. Just being late and then having to run before game 3.
I mean, it's all good. Hey, people got to see a really exciting start of Game 3 and then a really exciting Game 3. So you're just giving people more games than they even asked for. It's great, right? It's bonus content.
1.1 games.
Who can complain? Who can complain about bonus content? It's all good. All right. Well, I'll see y'all later. I'm gonna head out and close the stream.
All right.
Thanks again, D.
Yep. Good game. See ya.